The last thing my brother-in-law said before he lost all the color in his face was, "Your sister never told me it was you." By then, my mother had already banned me from Thanksgiving, and I still had no idea I was standing in the middle of his problem. My name is Talia. I am 26, and I work in donor relations for a children's hospital foundation downtown. My job is part charm, part damage control, part catching the lie hidden inside polished language. I manage major gifts, calm wealthy donors, and make sure private promises do not become public embarrassments. I am good at hearing what people leave out. That is why what happened with my family hit so hard. It started 3 days before Thanksgiving with a grocery list, cranberries on my counter, and my mother's name lighting up my phone. I had already bought pie crusts, tea for my father, and the extra rolls my sister always forgot. The second I answered, I knew something was wrong. "Talia," my mother said, in that flat voice she used when she wanted to sound reasonable after doing something cruel. "I need you to be mature about this." "About what?" A pause, prepared, not confused. "You will not be at Thanksgiving this year." The refrigerator hummed behind me. Everything felt too normal for the sentence I had just heard. "I am sorry," I said. "What?" She exhaled. "Your sister's new husband thinks your presence would ruin the vibe." Ruin the vibe. Not cause tension, not avoid awkwardness. Ruin the vibe. As if I were a stain on the holiday table they had decided not to set out. "I have met him twice," I said. "I know. But first holidays are sensitive, and we want things peaceful." That word hurt more than the rest. I asked whether my sister agreed. My mother said everyone thought it was best. I asked what exactly I had done. She said he found me intense. Intense. That word sounded borrowed, handed to her by someone who needed a clean excuse for a dirtier reason. My sister did not call. My father did not text. It was just done. I had been quietly removed from the family plan like a line someone deleted. Growing up, I was always the daughter expected to absorb things quietly. My sister Ivy could cry at the right moment and somehow become the wounded one. Even when she was the cause of the damage, I was the useful one, the one who fixed things, the one told not to overreact, even when something had clearly been taken from me. Our family did not call it favoritism. They called it keeping the peace. So when my mother said I was not welcome, I did what I had done most of my life. I swallowed the hurt and made my voice smaller. "Okay," I said. She sounded relieved. "Good. I knew you would understand." I ended the call before she could thank me for being easy to discard. That night, my apartment felt colder than it was. I shoved the grocery list into a drawer, heated soup I did not want, and sat in the dark replaying the only 2 moments that had ever felt strange with my sister's new husband. His name was Camden. At the rehearsal dinner, when someone asked what I did, he had looked up too fast, not polite interest, the kind of startled glance people give when they hear a word they recognize from somewhere they hoped would stay far away. Then at brunch, he had asked odd follow-up questions with a smile too thin to trust. Did I work with family foundations? Did I handle donor disputes? Was I involved in gift approvals? At the time, I brushed it off as awkward small talk. Lying awake that night, I realized he had not been making conversation. He had been checking something. Still, I forced myself to let it go. I had my own place, my own job, my own holiday if I wanted one. I even made a small plan for Thanksgiving morning. Coffee, a long walk, maybe roast a chicken for myself out of sheer spite. The next morning, I dressed carefully, the way I always did when I needed structure more than comfort. Cream blouse, dark slacks, hair pinned back, gold hoops. The armor of a woman who planned to keep functioning even if her chest still felt bruised. Our foundation offices sat in a glass building attached to the hospital campus. Mornings there moved fast. Volunteers pushed toy wagons toward pediatric units. The air smelled like espresso, hand soap, and stress. By 9, I had answered donor emails, reviewed gala seating notes, and flagged an urgent transfer that had arrived with weak documentation and too much pressure attached. Then my assistant, Mara, appeared at my door looking confused. "There is a man at reception asking for you," she said. "Tell him to email. He says it cannot wait." That made me glance up. Did he give a name? Mara hesitated. "Camden." All the air around me seemed to thin. For one irrational second, I thought maybe something terrible had happened at my parents' house, but Mara did not look frightened. She looked puzzled. "Is he alone?" I asked. "Yes, and honestly, he looks awful." I stood, smoothed my blouse, and followed her down the corridor. The closer I got to reception, the faster my thoughts moved. Why would he come to my office the morning after having me cut out of Thanksgiving? The answer hit me before I reached him. Fear. Not mine. His. Camden stood near the check-in desk with one hand braced against the back of a chair. He had the glossy look of a man who cared too much about appearing effortless, but that morning, he looked wrecked. Crooked collar, rough jaw, sleepless shadows under his eyes. He turned at the sound of footsteps, saw me, and froze like someone had struck him. I stopped a few feet away. "Why are you here?" His mouth opened, but nothing came out. The volunteer at the desk glanced between us. Mara slowed beside me. A courier near the elevator pretended not to watch. Camden stared past me for one disbelieving second. At the hospital crest on the wall, the foundation directory, The framed campaign photos. Then his gaze snapped back to my face. No, he whispered. I frowned. Excuse me? He took a stumbling half-step backward. The chair leg scraped hard across the floor. Heads turned. No, this cannot be right. His voice was rising. Mara shot me a look that asked whether she should call security. I gave the smallest shake of my head. Camden, I said evenly, why are you in my office? He laughed once, but it was panic breaking open. You work here? He said. You actually work here? Yes, I said. I do. He looked at the sign beside the desk again, then at my badge, then back at me like each detail was another door slamming shut. You are Talia Morgan, he said. I crossed my arms. Obviously. He pressed a hand to his mouth, then he dropped it and stared at me with naked horror. Oh my God, he said. I thought you were in events. What? My wife said you did hospital events. She said you just organized dinners and tables and speeches. The volunteer at the desk was openly staring now. I do donor relations, I said. Why does that matter? He made a sound so raw it nearly passed for a sob. Then right there in front of my staff and half the lobby, Camden started to unravel. He dragged both hands through his hair, turned in a circle like he was searching for an exit that had disappeared, and said much too loudly, your sister told me you were harmless. Something in me went very still. Mara inhaled softly beside me. Camden seemed to realize too late what he had said, but his control was already gone. She said you would not understand the filings, he blurted. She said you were just the family girl with the pretty invitations and the silent little job. Heat rose under my skin, but my face stayed cold. And yet, I said, here you are, screaming in my lobby. He stared at me, chest heaving, because your name is on the board review packet. That landed like a slap. I did not move. What did you just say? He glanced at Mara, the front desk, and the camera above reception, then lowered his voice too late. I saw your name last night. Talia Morgan, Family Gift Compliance Liaison. I thought there had to be another one. Now the delayed pieces began sliding together. His questions at brunch, the sudden exile from Thanksgiving, his panic the second he saw the building, Camden's Family Foundation. That was the transfer I had flagged that morning. Not because I knew his connection. The paperwork had come in under a trust name, the kind rich families used when they wanted distance between themselves and the mess. But I had already noticed irregular rerouting around a memorial campaign. Money promised for pediatric grief services had been quietly shifted and repackaged for something else. The kind of thing people in expensive suits called restructuring when they thought no one would force the language, to be honest. And Camden knew it. The elevator opened behind us with a bright chime. 2 trustees stepped out, saw the tension in reception, and slowed. Camden followed my gaze and seemed to realize the room around him was getting more dangerous by the second. He leaned toward me, his voice breaking into a desperate hiss. Please, not here. I need to talk to you before you open the supplemental file. Every instinct I had sharpened in my career told me the next sentence would change everything. I looked at him for a long second, then turned to Mara and asked her to hold my next call. My voice stayed calm. That seemed to scare Camden more than if I had raised it. Conference room 3, I said. He followed me down the corridor like a man walking beside his own sentence. The moment the door shut behind us, he started talking too fast. It is not what you think, he said. The money was never stolen. That is an interesting first sentence, I replied, especially since I did not use the word stolen. His mouth tightened. Camden tried again. It was temporary movement, bridge placement. There were timing issues with one of the family ventures, and the trust manager said the hospital pledge would be restored before anyone noticed. There it was, the sentence people used when they had already chosen the victim they thought would absorb the loss quietly. How much? I asked. He looked at the floor. How much? His voice turned papery. A little over 800,000. The room went silent. That fund had been pitched as sacred, a memorial gift. Camden's family had made speeches about healing and legacy. Meanwhile, nearly $1 million had been pushed aside to patch a private disaster. Which venture? I asked. He swallowed. A property holding. My wife and I are in it too. There it was again. Property. Family greed with a cleaner haircut. And my sister knows? His eyes flicked up, then away. She knows some of it. Some of it, I repeated. She knows there was pressure. She does not know every mechanism. I finally sat. Why did my mother call instead of my sister? He hesitated, then made the mistake frightened men always make. Because your mother said you are easier to control when the rejection sounds practical. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. He kept going. She said if your sister called, you would ask too many questions. She said if she called, you would go quiet and try to be good. I stared at him, not shocked, just stripped clean by hearing the family pattern described by a near stranger with brutal accuracy. He saw something in my face and rushed to soften it. I just needed distance until the board meeting passed. The board meeting? I asked. He nodded. Friday morning. Once the renewal was approved and the transfer was covered, none of this would have touched you. I almost laughed. He thought the danger had been me finding out. He still did not understand the danger was that he had done it at all. I folded my hands on the table. Camden, I am not the person who approves that review. I am the person who sends the concerns upward. The panic came back instantly. Then do not send them yet. That sentence hung between us, ugly and desperate. You came into my workplace, I said, after cutting me out of my own family holiday. And now you are asking me to help bury a misuse of hospital funds. I am asking for time. You are asking for silence. He opened his mouth, but I stood. This conversation is over. He rose too quickly, knocking the chair back. Please. You do not understand what this will do to Ivy. I turned at the door. That depends on what Ivy chose. I stepped into the hall and asked Mara to call legal and security, not in a dramatic voice. Just the tone I used when something required process. Before security arrived, my phone started ringing. Mom, I answered. What did you do? She demanded. I went to work, I said. Do not be cute. Camden said you humiliated him. There it was. He panics in my office, and somehow I become the offense. He came here, I said. Not the other way around. My mother lowered her voice, which was somehow worse. Whatever you think is going on, this is family now. Your sister is married. If there is a misunderstanding, you need to handle it privately. I laughed once. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving privately? Was that family too? This is not about feelings. No, I said. It is about paperwork. That silence told me she knew more than she should. Then she made her mistake. If you blow this up, your sister could lose the lake house deal. The lake house. A property holding. There it was. I had not mentioned property. Mom just confirmed she knew the reward sitting underneath all that fake concern about the vibe. So Ivy had married into a scheme. Mom had helped protect it, and I had been pushed out because I was an inconvenience with access. I need to go, I said. Talia, do not you dare punish your sister because you are upset. I ended the call without another word. That was the first cut. The second came an hour later, when legal asked me to forward any personal connection that might affect internal handling. I sent a clean summary, attached the visitor log, and included the security clip from reception. Calm compliance. No adjectives, just facts, times, names, and Camden's own words where he had spilled them. By late afternoon, the matter was no longer mine alone. External counsel was pulled in. The board review packet was frozen. The restricted transfer was flagged. The trust name unraveled in less than 20 minutes. Then came the twist I had not expected. My father called. He almost never called first. When I answered, his voice sounded older than it had the week before. Can we meet? I told him there was a coffee place across from the hospital and I had 15 minutes. He was already sitting there when I arrived, hands around a cup he had barely touched. Your mother told me this was about hurt feelings, he said. Then a banker friend called and asked whether I knew why Camden's trust lawyer was trying to move collateral before a freeze. I sat down slowly. He looked at me. What is Ivy involved in? That was the first honest question either parent had asked me in years. So I told him enough, not case details, just the truth in plain language. A donor pledge had been diverted. Camden panicked when he realized I was attached to the review chain. Mom tried to isolate me before the meeting. Ivy knew at least part of it. Dad went pale. The lake house, he said softly. Your mother said it was a gift from his family. I held his gaze. He looked down at his hands. I signed a temporary guarantee last month. Your mother said it was symbolic. There it was. Dad had been used as backup protection. Dad, I said, call your attorney tonight. He nodded once. When I got home, Ivy was waiting outside my building. She looked polished from a distance, but up close her mascara was cracked. You could have warned me, she said before I was even close enough to unlock the door. About what? Your husband screaming in my lobby or your mother selling me out? She folded her arms. Do not act self-righteous. I was trying to protect my marriage. By getting me banned from Thanksgiving? By keeping you away until Friday. So she admitted it. I set my bag down and looked at her. You knew. She lifted her chin. I knew Camden was in a temporary bind. With hospital money. With pledged money, she snapped, as if wording could bleach it clean. It was going back. I laughed then, and that seemed to offend her more than anger would have. You always do this, she said. You always make yourself the moral center of everything. No, I said. I just keep ruining the part where you think consequences are optional. Then she delivered the poison she had probably been saving. Mom was right about one thing. Nobody wanted you there. Even before Camden asked. It should have hurt more. A year earlier, maybe it would have, but by then I could hear the strain underneath it. I picked up my bag again. Go home, Ivy. She stared at me. So that is it? No, I said. That is mercy. I went inside and did not look back. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and bright. My phone was silent for the first time in days. Just one text from Dad. I withdrew the guarantee. I am sorry. I read it twice. Then I made coffee, opened my curtains, and let the quiet feel different this time. By noon, the fallout had started moving too fast for anyone to contain. Camden's Family Foundation issued an emergency statement about internal review. The board suspended the renewal vote. External counsel placed a hold on the property financing tied to diverted collateral. The lake house closing died before the papers could be signed. My mother, according to Dad, cried about embarrassment until she realized. Embarrassment was the smallest problem in the room. He came. By that afternoon, with a grocery bag and a pie from the bakery I liked, Ivy moved out of Camden's condo this morning. He said from my kitchen doorway. Your mother is with her. I poured coffee for both of us. And you? He looked at me carefully. I am here. That did not erase anything. But it was true. We ate a quiet dinner at my small table. No performance. No fake gratitude circle. No one asking me to be smaller so other people could stay comfortable. That night, After Dad left, I received one final message from my mother. I hope you are happy. You ruined Thanksgiving. I stared at it for a while, then set the phone face down without replying, because she was wrong. I had not ruined Thanksgiving. I had only refused to keep serving it to people who wanted me gone until they needed my silence. A week later, I learned the smallest and sharpest twist of all. Camden had not come to my office just to confirm my name. He had come carrying an envelope addressed to me. Security logged it after he fled. Inside was a handwritten note and a draft invitation to Thanksgiving with my name already added back in. He had planned to fix the problem if I turned out not to matter. Instead, he found out I was the problem only for people who were already guilty.